both of us were very anxious to make the film as authentic as possible. So really nothing is invented, except, you know, some speculation of the nature of the relationships of the various characters. But nothing that's said, as far as we can establish, was different from what in fact was said. And the letters were all, I mean, they might have been a sentence from one letter combined with a sentence from another letter, or, you know, that sort of thing. But they were, you know, they were not, you know, it didn't seem to me really an interesting thing to do, to invent for these people, because they were such fascinating people, and what happened to them, and the various stages they went through at you know, this sort of pioneering time of inventing psychoanalysis. It didn't seem appropriate to make stuff up. And I had already had, you know, my breakthrough experience really was when I was writing the original screenplay, and I went to Zurich to do research there, and I went in particular to the Burg Hölzli Hospital, which was where Jung had been the assistant director at the beginning of our story. And it's not there now, but on the top floor they had a small Jung museum of memorabilia of one sort or another. The attendant, or the curator it turned out to be, he said he had known Jung, that he had been an orderly in the hospital when Jung was practicing there. We got to talking about the Jung estate and the Jung family, and I said I understood they were quite watchful and, you know, protective. And he said yes, and indeed he had a very, you know, although he'd only wanted to set up this museum in homage to Jung, he had been given rather a difficult time in setting it up, and felt unappreciated for what he'd done. And anyway, so this conversation sort of, I suppose, broken down the barriers between us. My German was not, you know, I was struggling with my German as usual. And he said, is there anything specifically that you're interested in? And I said, yes, I'm interested in one particular patient of Dr. Jung's. And he said, do you know roughly when they were admitted? And I said, yeah, August 1904, 4th of August 1904. And he said, well, come with me. He said, I'm closing up here. So we closed up the museum and took me down to the basement where there was an archive. And he got off the shelf 1904, volume for 1904, and he found the case notes for Sabine Spielrein, typed by Jung, presumably, with Jung's handwritten notes in the margin. And he said, there you are, there it is. And I said, but it was about 50 pages, I suppose. He said, you've got half an hour. I said, oh. And he said, look, I'm going to leave you alone. He said, there's a photocopier in the corner. So I photocopied the case notes and took them home, and that was the seed and the beginning of the whole thing, because no one had written about, and no one had seen them, I guess, and no one had written about them, and certainly the book Most Dangerous Method by John Kerr, which was the basis of our film, had not had access to these notes, and indeed had speculated in his book that the treatment had only lasted 4 or 5 weeks, whereas the case notes proved that it had been a 6-month process. And indeed, all the dialogue in the film comes pretty much out of these case notes. And in fact, it caused a little bit of a legal problem. The National Theatre were anxious about, you know, because in fact, you're not supposed to, even it's 100 years ago, or more than 100 years ago, you're not supposed to use people's medical case notes. Right. Fortunately, it turned out that in the time between my discovery of these notes and the 5 or 6 years that had passed between that and the production at the National Theatre, a German medical student had been given access to the notes and had quoted them pretty extensively in his PhD thesis. for the University of Munich or somewhere. So technically, once they're out in the, you know, in the academic world, you know, the problem goes away. That was where it all began.